Okay, next up, I'm delighted to introduce Michael McComb, the Vice President on Communications and Sustainability of SAP Greater China, as our speaker on how technology enables sustainable business. Please welcome Michael.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this inaugural Rethink conference. I have to say right off the bat, Chris and team, chapeau. Congratulations for getting an event pulled off in the middle of a global pandemic. That takes some turbocharged tenacity and resilience. Amazing work. And those traits really are coming to define 2020, I think. It's certainly everything that we're dealing with at SAP, helping our customers around the world adjust and adapt their enterprise software across different business functions from supply chain, HR, finance, manufacturing, customer experience. It's all about resilience and flexibility these days. We have been super busy with more than 400,000 customers and millions of end users, helping them try to stay on top of their business in these weird, strange times. COVID kind of threw the curtain back, didn't it, on a lot of these sustainability issues, and I think it threw a lot of executives off the fence. It's amazing how fast some of these companies adjusted their business processes and even their business models to cope with the virus impacts. Well, we can't forget, though, that these immediate threats are what humans are really good at dealing with. You know, it's the slow creeping changes that we still seem to have some problems with. And so when it comes to sustainability, we see that business is often cast as the culprit, you know, the bad guy in all of this. And that's partially true. But we also know that business is really the only global force that can collectively drive change at scale. There's a lot of business people thinking that we can tech our way out of this mess. And while that may also be partly true, technology alone is not the answer. And SAP as a technology company, we understand that we're going to have to put our trust in nature, collaboration, new forms of leadership, and scalable positive outcomes. As we said earlier, this is a gathering of like-minded individuals, right? And I'm speaking to the converted here. But in the spirit of the conference title, I wanted to share a few thoughts today on things that I think we need to rethink. First of all, we need to rethink the economy. Kate Raworth at Oxford came up with this really clever integration of different strands of thinking about the economy and what she calls the donut economy. She puts key economic, social, and environmental issues at the center. And as you can see from the red wedges, we're already breaching several social and planetary boundaries. So moving into and staying in the safe and just space is really the challenge of our time. We have to help and support business to make this economy happen. And companies are driving, the economy to get us there, or at least some of them. And Raworth, she asked a number of business leaders, what their actions to date have been And she put them into 5 categories. There's the do-nothings, the do-what-pays, the do-our-fair-share, the do-mission-zero, and you've heard a lot of these lately, and then there's the be-generatives. And it's these last ones that are just the kinds of companies that are going to help us get and stay into the donut. Wow. Business and economic transformation at a global scale, from an economy that's extractive to one that's generative, from one that's exploitive to one that's just. This is a fundamental transformation of what business is and what it's for. And the numbers work. A restorative and regenerative economy can unlock trillions in sustainable growth and reduce our CO2 by 45% and reduce waste by 90%. The ask is for business to step up and deliver in the next 10 years, because time is of the essence. Because it's clear we're not on track to achieve many of the Sustainable Development Goals. And business can play a key role in accelerating our progress over the coming decade. So one of the ways that we're helping with this is by partnering with the United Nations Global Compact, Accenture, and 3M to deliver a platform called the SDG Ambition, which helps companies think bigger and bolder and create tangible roadmaps and integrations to achieve more faster. We have to think long term, of course, but we have to act now. Companies who act now with big, bold, disruptive, and regenerative ambitions are going to be rewarded. Investors like BlackRock, which you've heard a lot about, and other even more activist investors are outing companies which they see as making insufficient progress on climate-related risk and social injustices. And I think we're going to see many more votes of no confidence against management teams starting next year. So what we've seen to date may just be this, the tip of the iceberg. This year has made it very clear to business leaders that in addition to their top lines and their bottom lines, they're going to have to also start managing their green lines for sustainable business success. And if we do this, it can become a guiding principle in a way for the way we holistically evaluate and steer business into the future. Holistic, sustainable performance at the heart of the business conversation. Can you imagine? So SAP is a founding member of a relatively new group called the Value Balancing Alliance. It's a nonprofit with the goal of changing the way that company performance is measured and valued. The aim of this group is to create a global impact measurement standard for both positive and negative impacts of corporate activity. So if we're able to rethink some of these elements, we may just indeed poke a hole in the unsustainable economic model we're in. Second, we're going to have to rethink carbon. You see, human activity that has led to accelerating climate change is really just a design failure. That's according to Bill McComb. Bill is the author of Cradle to Cradle, and I love his recent work on the connection between climate change and the circular economy. The molecular fact is that carbon is a life-enabling material. We're about 20% carbon ourselves. And anthropogenic greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is airborne carbon. This is a valuable material in the wrong place, in the wrong dose, in the wrong duration. We've made carbon a toxin, like lead in our drinking water. In the right place, carbon is a valuable resource and a tool. McDonough says we should start by changing the language around carbon. We hear language today like low carbon, zero carbon, negative carbon, and even the war on carbon. But language matters. So we could try on a new language, like living carbon, durable carbon, and fugitive carbon, to describe the different ways that we use and reuse this resource. This language and the mindset and the design approach associated with it signals positive intentions. And hopefully it would lead us to do more good rather than simply less bad. But in the meantime, we need to go on a diet, a carbon diet. We need to cut back on the carbon cake. One way to make this happen is to commit to science-based reduction targets. SAP, we've signed on to the Science-Based Targets Initiative, and we're on track to be carbon neutral by 2025. Will we be generative after that? I certainly hope so. We use green energy for all our global data centers. We offset our global travel, which we haven't been doing much of this year. And we offset our other emissions using the Livelihood Carbon Fund, which funds nature-based solutions like large-scale ecosystem restoration projects around the world. And speaking of natural solutions, I think we could ask nature for some more help in some of our problems. Today, about $44 trillion of economic value is moderately or highly dependent on nature. A new nature economy could generate up to $10 trillion in annual business value and create 400 million jobs in the next 9 years. Think of all the climate mitigation and abatement work that needs to be done by creating new nature-based solutions. China's new carbon neutrality by 2060 plan includes significant NBS plans like marshlands and multi-system forest ecosystems as carbon sinks and mangroves as tidal protection. At SAP, we're helping employees, customers, and partners join in and contribute to programs that help plant millions of trees, for example. But besides counting trees, we're going to have to do better at counting emissions. As the old management school adage goes, if you can't measure your total carbon emissions, then you can't manage them. So this year we launched Climate 21. It's a program that has a product that we first launched this year called the SAP Product Carbon Footprint Analytics solution, which helps companies analyze the accumulated amount of greenhouse gas and other environmental impacts created by the procurement, the production, and the logistics of their individual services and finished products. So what we're talking about now is going much deeper into Scope 3. And the third one that we need to rethink, of course, is production and consumption. So let me circle back to my first point about the circular economy. The only way we can achieve a low carbon or regenerative economy is by bending the way the economy works. Our current economy is largely based on a take, make, waste model, where materials are extracted, manufactured into goods, used, and then disposed of. This isn't going so well. So what we're seeing now is the beginning of the end of this linear economy. The circular revolution has begun, and it's good for business. There's about 100 billion tons of new material entering the economy every year, but only about 10% is recycled or reused. This is an enormous inefficiency and cost to business. So we help our customers better manage these materials through their supply chains and innovate new processes to accelerate the circular economy. To begin with, companies are going to have to design out toxicity and waste and end-of-life pollution from their products in the first place. This is going to reduce the need for new materials and the energy and the emissions and other negative impacts that are associated with them. And we need to get that 10% reuse and recycle rate way up quickly. We need the mindset that one company's waste is another company's treasure. It's just that it's not that easy today. Companies have to find waste. They have to value it, acquire it, and then use it. So this is where we need to rethink responsible procurement and sourcing. Our aim is to use technology to connect buyers and sellers in these secondary materials marketplaces. We're helping recyclers and upcyclers use geospatial technology, cloud-based data management, and real-time analytics to improve this resource recovery and reuse. Our SAP Ariba network, for example, is the world's largest business-to-business network, and it's expanding a global marketplace for suppliers of recycled plastics and plastic alternatives. Around $10 billion of this kind of packaging is going through the Ariba network every year. And our materials cloud solution makes it much easier for companies to procure these recycled plastics, which, funny enough, is actually quite difficult, from a variety of different sources, including waste picker communities in Africa and India, as well as social enterprises like Ocean Cycle. And speaking of social enterprises, we recently announced a new initiative called 5x25, which aims to improve and to move 5% of our own global procurement to social enterprises. And we encourage other companies to join us in this social procurement movement. We're also helping consumers be more responsible with their choices. So technologies like blockchain can help brands trace and share product lineages so customers can make more informed purchases like these tuna. And our carbon accounting solution are going to help brands quickly expand their ability to help customers understand the carbon footprints and social impacts of the individual products that they buy. But all the greatest technology in the world is not going to completely solve our problems. It always comes down to people, to us, to all of us, and the decisions that we make as individuals, but also as leaders, and what we bring back to our companies and to our networks. Business, I think, is in the driver's seat to recalibrate an economic system to one that supports sustainable growth and profits. I like what our CEO is now saying to our customers, partners, and investors, that SAP wants to make profitability more sustainable and sustainability profitable. But all it's going to take is a little rethink. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael, for a very informative session. And